Hi there, today I wanted to make a video all about resources that I wish that I had as a beginner potter. I am by no means an expert, but there's just a few things that I still refer back to regularly that I wish I had from day one. Pottery is a super in-depth art field. There's a lot of science behind it and a lot of knowledge that needs to be obtained in order to do things correctly. And so sometimes having those resources can just really help. The first thing I want to talk about is this really comprehensive cone chart. I still look back on this cone chart regularly when I'm trying to figure out what temperatures I'm firing to. And having this saved on your phone or even hung up on the wall in your studio can save you a lot of time, save you a lot of Googling, and it's just great to be able to refer back to regularly. I'll have the link in the bio for all of these resources in case you don't want to screenshot them straight from the video. The next thing I want to talk about is a technique called candling. I think one of the hardest parts of pottery is learning to be patient. And patience is a really important trait to have as a potter, because without it you can ruin pieces that you spent copious amounts of time on, and that feeling can really hurt. So if you don't know what candling is, here's a little description. Essentially, water boils at 212 degrees. So at that temperature is when the moisture inside of your pottery is going to become steam. More on that later. But keeping the kiln below that temperature will allow you to heat the pottery up and dry it out without causing it to explode. So if you're in a rush and you need to get those pieces fired and you just know that they're not fully dry, or maybe you're just not sure if they're fully dry, candling is going to allow you to essentially preheat your pottery. A lot of kilns, especially like nice fancy scut kilns, will come with a preheat setting, and most kilns you can program to preheat or candle. I recently got a new scut kiln that has a touchscreen with a preheat setting right there on it, and it has been a fabulous luxury to have in my studio. So going back to that idea of moisture inside of pottery and the elusive explosions that take place inside of the kiln, I want to make one thing clear that I personally didn't know in the beginning, and I feel like is a common misconception among a lot of new potters and honestly old potters alike. If you took a high school class on pottery, your teacher probably told you that if you have any air bubbles inside of the clay, your piece is going to explode inside of the kiln. It makes sense for high school teachers to say this because wedging is really an important part of making pieces in pottery, and that kind of threatening idea that if there are any air bubbles inside can really whip you into shape and enforce that habit of wedging really well. But the truth is, air bubbles inside of your pottery are not what causes it to explode. It is the moisture that becomes trapped inside of those air bubbles. The common belief is that if I have an enclosed circle with no holes poked in it and I fire that in the kiln, that piece is going to explode. That's not actually true. You can fire an enclosed piece, a completely enclosed piece with no holes. You can do that. The important part is not the air, it's always the moisture. So making sure that your piece is completely dry before it becomes fired is what's important. When moisture becomes trapped at 212 degrees, it's going to begin to turn to steam, and it's going to expand inside of your piece. If your piece is completely dry, there is no moisture in there to expand. So that's just a little tip. Don't let that idea limit your creation. But wedging is important. Don't stop wedging because of that. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, I took pottery classes in high school, but all of our classes were hand building. We did have a few wheel lessons, and at the time I absolutely could not understand, no matter how many times my teacher tried to teach me, how this worked. When I was in college, I decided to get back into pottery, and I hand built for a while, but I really wanted to learn how to throw on the wheel. I sat down with some clay and I just couldn't seem to get it. And I hear this a lot from people who tell me they've taken classes and they just didn't understand. The clay was wobbling all over the place and they couldn't figure out how to get it centered. My aha moment for throwing was this video right here. I don't know what it is about that video. I don't know why, but seeing this person throw for some reason clicked in my brain. And suddenly I understood the position to hold my hands in, and I was no longer fighting the clay, it was working with me. And I don't know if this video is going to be the same kind of help for you as it was for me, but I wanted to share it. Okay, that is it for my tips and tricks today. If you have any tips and tricks, please leave them in the comments below. Let's create a community here where we can help each other. If you have any questions, leave them below. I will be replying to all the comments on this video. If you're interested in learning more about me, or purchasing my artwork, you can head over to my website. Go ahead and give me a follow on all my social medias. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the things. And I'm really excited because I just opened my Patreon back up. I have 5 unique tiers, and if you're interested in supporting me in return for some exclusive content or even handmade pottery delivered right to your door every month, you can check out Bug Ceramics on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope that this video was even a little bit helpful, and I'll see you next week.